After waves of international criticism, Saudi Arabia continues to defend their judicial system, and more specifically, their decision to sentence Raif Badawi, the liberal blogger, to 1,000 lashes and years in prison. The Saudi Arabian ambassador to Canada, Naif Bin Bandir Al-Sudairy, sent a letter to Quebec's National Assembly telling them not to interfere in the case. In that letter, he warned that the kingdom, quote, does not accept any form of interference in its internal affairs. We should respect that. No country wants another country to tell them what to do, especially in their own country. But if we're talking about human rights, for example, Saudi Arabia will say, the kingdom does not accept any attacks, don't do that, because our law is based off of Sharia law, and that guarantees human rights for all. Unless you're a woman, unless you want to speak your mind, unless you want a democracy, unless you're gay, and the list goes on. But should other countries step in and kind of say, hey, you're taking it the wrong way, you shouldn't be lashing people for speaking their minds, but it's our law. It's complicated, isn't it? You can't just go in and tell people what to do.
You can't just go in as a country into another sovereign country and say, yeah, you're going to do things this way or that way. But definitely, I think it's the responsibility of the world to be observant of human rights violations, regardless if they're hidden behind a code of law that applies to a certain country. There are certain things that should not be happening in the world, regardless of your religion, regardless of your country of origin. I think that we see, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in a lot of the countries in the Middle East, that they're still following punishment tradition that is hundreds of years outdated.
Just archaic ways of punishing people, and it's sad. And you think sometimes, though, here in the U.S., if it wasn't Saudi Arabia, which we're pretty dependent on financially for a lot of reasons, oil being a big one, obviously, but if it wasn't them, if it was some other country, do you think we would see a lot more backlash? Do you think you'd see embargoes and all these
sanctions?
Yes.
Sanctions, well, I mean, we see that there's more sanctions to other countries.
Sweden stepped up. They stopped some arms deal that they were going to have with Saudi Arabia because of Raif Badawi, the blogger. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, and that's a great point. I think that we are going to see that commercial interests are not going to get on the way of the rest of the world trying to change the way punishment is administered in the Middle East.
Right, and I guess though it all comes down to the money though. We'll see protests, we'll see people coming out, we'll see little things like what Sweden has done, but big efforts to kind of step in and say, okay, we're not going to help you out, we're not going to do business with you. I don't know if that would ever happen. We depend on them. A lot of countries depend on them all around the world. So it's difficult to say that, but it's sad, right?
It is definitely. We are seeing that two things are happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. On one end, we see that Saudi Arabia and other countries of the Middle East are opening up to Western influence. We see an influx of Middle Eastern students that come for their college degrees here in America. They go back and they have this experience of the country and experience of life that differs from what they are used to. And that influence is changing the behavior of the younger generations, but at the same time we see the older generations that are in power and that are deciding the laws and how the punishment is done that are not necessarily that open to change.
Yeah, well, we want to know what you guys think. What the hell does Saudi Arabia mean when they say that they guarantee human rights? For who? What does that mean? Let us know what you guys think about this by commenting, and of course, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Lip TV.